back, Schroeder Raiders, to our next episode of the Schroeder Spotlight. This week we have our first sixth grade teacher. We have Mrs. Aiken here. Some of you requested to have her interviewed, so she graciously has agreed to be here with us against her better judgment. So, Mrs. Aiken, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on here. And yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. So again, just like before, we'll have a few school-related questions to start, and then we'll get into our kind of rapid-fire questions where we really get to know the ins and outs of some of these teachers. So here we go. So our first question is, how long have you been at Schroeder, and what classes have you taught here?
Okay, I have been at Schroeder for 17 years. Prior to that, I taught for 10 out at the Grand Forks Air Force Base. Always been in sixth grade, and at Schroeder, always been math. But in addition to math, I have done reading, language arts, science, and social studies.
So Mrs. Aiken has been sixth grade her whole life. That's pretty, I would say that's pretty unique, I think, for people.
My whole life, yeah. My grandpa used to call me when he was still living. He used to call and ask me how my day was. And I'd say it was great. And he'd say, what grade were you in today? And I'd say sixth grade. And he says, you still can't leave sixth grade. And he thought I wasn't learning enough.
Yeah, you still haven't. I will say I have known Mrs. Aiken for probably close to 20 years because she was at the air base when I started out there as well. So
that's right.
That was a long time ago. All right. Our next question here. What do you think is the most important item a new student needs to know when they come to Schroeder?
I think that all new students coming to Schroeder should know that we are a welcoming, safe place to be where everyone matters. I think if you know that, you are good to go.
Perfect. And I think a lot of the students I've talked to in the last couple of weeks that are new that I didn't know last year, or new sixth graders, really appreciate that about Schroeder. I think they feel really welcome here. So that's good. That's what we want.
Yes.
What is your most prized possession and why?
Oh, man. Well, I think my most prized possession would have to be my 3 children. But they are adults now, and so I don't know if they would like me to call them my possessions. Other than that, it is not one particular thing, because in all my experiences that I have, I'm kind of a organized pack rat. I love to keep things that will allow me to remember certain things about all the experiences, and I have a huge treasure box where I can go in and all my memories are right there. It might be something as simple as a rock that I collected from some place that I was, or a photograph of something, or just some sort of memorabilia that reminds me of special times.
Yeah, and I think as teachers, we probably all have that desk drawer where we have stuff that kids have either given us or written to us. And I know, every once in a while when I'm kind of digging through that drawer and I find something that makes me kind of smile when you think of some of those kids that have passed through and written you a note or drawn a picture. So it does matter when you do those things, kids.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Next, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Or if you haven't received one, maybe something you kind of live your life by?
Right. I think that advice would have come from my dad. He was a true believer in hard work, and he said, if you work hard, the payoffs are pretty tremendous. Even if it doesn't go your way, he always felt like there was reward within yourself for knowing that you had worked hard. Even if the outcome wasn't what you had hoped, there was always something good to walk away from, and know that you did your best and you worked as hard as you could on whatever that was. And there was always something to be learned from that. So
yeah, good or bad, there's always something to learn from what happens.
yes.
Definitely. I believe that as well. Awesome. All right. If you could spend the day with a famous person from history or from the present, who would it be and why?
All right. I think that I would love to spend the day with Maya Angelou, as being my number one. simply because she took so many different paths in her life. She was an actress, an activist, an author. One of my favorite quotes has come from her, and that would be that people will forget what you've said, and people will forget what you've done, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's just always kind of stuck with me. And I just thought, boy, to have a day and just chat with her would be wonderful. My other one for present time would probably have to be Ellen DeGeneres, just because she's so funny and laughter is a good thing. So I would love to spend the day just laughing at whatever she had to say.
So I'm going to follow up on that. If you had to say someone at Schroeder is most like Ellen DeGeneres, who would you say? What teacher do you think that would be?
Oh my gosh.
I'm putting you on the spot, but
You are, but you know what? I am going to go ahead and say that the person at Schrader that brings me probably the most laughter or causes me to laugh the most would be Mr. Nordine.
really, wow,
Yeah. He is so quick-witted, and the stuff he says is just, I don't know. You know you're going to have a good time when you're with in the same room with Mr. Nordine.
awesome. And I think they have the same haircut too, probably.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, good. Next, who was a teacher or coach that had an impact on your life, and why were they important to you?
That would be my fifth grade teacher. Before fifth grade, I had lived down in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And so the start of the fifth grade school year was my first in Grand Forks. And my fifth grade teacher made me feel so welcome. He opened up his classroom to the point where every day you knew walking in there that kind of like what we feel at Schrader is that you mattered. And it was just such a warm feeling. And some of my best friends um, from that year are still continued to be my best friends this year. And I think that was just all to how he showed us how to be caring and compassionate people, and having made us toe the line and do our best all the time. And yeah, I'd like to think that he is the one that kind of inspired me to be a teacher.
Awesome. That's
Just an
awesome.
overall great person.
Good. Were you ever able to tell him that as an adult?
I was, yes. In fact, I wrote him a letter before he passed away. And then I got a message back from his wife that said that he had read it. So that was very meaningful to me.
Good. That's awesome.
Hmm.
This is a new question here, and this is something that, because I haven't answered for this, I know that kind of has stuck with me through my life as a teacher, but what's one thing you learned from a student?
Oh my goodness. I think that that would be that first impressions can be wrong. You always think that you want to put off that perfect impression right off the get-go, and it doesn't always work out to be. A lot can change from that first impression. You might walk away from someone thinking that is not someone I want to be friends with. This is going to be a tough year with that student, and it is not at all that way once you get to know that person.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, people always think that we teach uh, students all the time, but sometimes they'll teach us a thing or two also.
so many things. Yes, so many things, even the silly things. I've
Yeah.
learned a lot of jokes through my career.
Yes. Yeah. So all right, this is a student question. A student wanted me to ask you this one. So the question basically is, do you enjoy teaching math? Do you like teaching math? And then if you weren't teaching math, what other class would you like to teach?
Okay. Well, I'm pretty lucky because, yes, math is first and foremost my very favorite subject. I absolutely love numbers. And when I'm not teaching math, I'm always looking for different ways that math is being incorporated into my life. And my students will know that I ask them that question all the time. When I'm not teaching math, my next favorite is reading. And so I'm very fortunate this year because I'm teaching both of those. Reading is just something that you can escape from, you can share, you can connect to the characters. And I love watching my students when we're reading, learn about the characters and understand how they are related to themselves.
Awesome. All right, we'll get to our rapid fire questions here now. And again, these are ones that hopefully are going to make Mrs. Aiken think a little bit. We'll get to delve into her real psyche, what makes her tick. We've learned a lot of interesting things about Mr. Johnson and Mr. Simon. So good luck is all I can say as we go into these. And those of you that have watched the first few episodes, there are a couple new ones in here. So here we go.
Okay.
All right. So when you wake up in the morning, do you hit the snooze button or do you get up immediately?
I snooze. There is no just jumping right out of bed for Mrs. Aiken. I snooze. I probably hit the snooze once, and then I could maybe even lay there and I'm on my phone or reading a book for 45 minutes before I actually get out of bed.
So that's an extended snooze. That's a real
Extended snooze. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. What's the last thing you read digitally or in print?
Okay. In print would be the Grand Forks Herald. Love our news. And probably Twitter for digital.
Okay. Yeah, there's lots of stuff on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Follow Twitter, the Schroeder Twitter account. Lots of great stuff there.
Yes.
When you're making a peanut butter sandwich, which I'm sure you did with your kids all the time when they were younger, do you put the peanut butter or the jelly on first?
Okay, well, I am a little weird because I put my peanut butter on first, but it only goes on one side of the bread and then the jelly goes on the other slice of bread. And then I add a layer of potato chips in the middle.
Oh.
So that's why I have to have peanut butter on one slice and jelly on the other.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Never had that.
Well, it's really good. I love to mix that sweet and salty.
That's why you like Mr. Nordine, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's it.
All right, our next one. Would you rather be the best racquetball player in the world or find $75 on the street?
Easy question. $75 on the street because I am a total shopper and I could really find a good treasure for $75.
Yeah, there you go. So our first answer of $75, which I think is the correct answer, really. I mean, what are you going to do with the best racquetball player in the world?
And I'm not very athletic, so yeah.
All right. Would you rather have your dishes or clothes be magically clean?
Clothes. Laundry is not my favorite activity.
All right.
So I can handle the dishes.
And especially when you have a full house. I think that's an underrated thing is how much laundry a family of 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever can make.
Exactly.
Would you rather give up your phone or junk food forever?
Oh my goodness. Well, should be junk food, and I probably would choose junk food. My phone helps me stay connected to people.
Okay.
So I couldn't give that up.
Yeah. All right. We're going to jump back to our sandwiches. So let's say you have the peanut butter jelly and potato chip sandwich in front of you. Are you someone who cuts it on the diagonal or do you cut it horizontally?
I'm going to tell you neither.
Okay.
I actually cut it vertical.
Oh.
Yes. So when I make my sandwich, it's an up and down cut because then I get the top crust and the bottom crust on both halves.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So sorry, I changed up the answers there.
No, that's all right. See, we're learning something new here.
Yeah.
All right. You have your choice here. You've got 3 breakfast items for you in the morning. Are you picking pancakes, waffles, or French toast?
Pancakes all the way.
Pancakes.
But you got to make them with a little splash of Sprite or 7-Up.
Oh, there's a new one.
Oh,
I hadn't heard that before.
Yep. Less milk, and then you add a little carbonated pop, and they get nice and fluffy.
Okay. Well, there you go. Everybody try that out. Would you rather brush your teeth with soap or drink sour milk?
Oh, I am not a milk drinker, so totally brushing my teeth with soap would be much preferred.
That's one of our new ones there.
Good question.
Would you rather play hide and go seek or play dodgeball?
Hide and go seek. Dodgeball scares me. Must have been a bad memory from elementary school. Maybe I got hit with a ball or something. So yeah, nobody gets hurt in hide and seek.
No. All right, next we have the Mr. Halverson question. So those of you out there, if you have Mr. Halverson, or if you do next year, or you had him last year, make sure you ask him about this. But do you dip your French fries in ketchup, or do you put the ketchup directly on top of the French fries and then eat them?
Okay, well, Mrs. Aiken doesn't use ketchup. It's
Okay, no
no
ketchup.
ketchup at all
So
on anything.
if you had French fries, do you just eat them plain?
Um, it depends on if I'm having them at a restaurant. Sometimes certain restaurants will have their specialty sauces. I may dip them, but most of the time they're plain. I'm not a real big, huge condiment person.
Okay, that's
So
good to know. All right, and our last question here is: do you like going to the movies or prefer watching them at home?
watching at home. It's hard to take my blanket to the movie theater, and I can have as much popcorn, which I love, as I want. I just keep making more popcorn when I'm at home. So blanket and popcorn and movie, my favorites.
Well, I will say that there is a kind of a phenomena sweeping the younger folks out there that is bringing their blanket to the movie theater. And
Oh,
that's my thought, is that it's kind of gross, but there are people that are doing that now. So
I don't think I could do that. So I'd prefer to have my blanket at home.
yeah, me too. All right. Well, that was our last question. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Aiken here. I'm sure if you have more questions about making pancakes or making interesting peanut butter and jelly combinations, she would definitely help you out there. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Aiken, and then we'll see you next time on the Schroeder Spotlight. Bye, everybody.
Bye.